Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about NV Faris. So she's going to be releasing soon. We're going to talk about her Brave Shift form, her base form, her strengths and weaknesses, as well as her sample rotations and sample builds. I'm also going to talk about my final thoughts, and I'm going to compare her to NV Terra, our current evoke damage dealer, fire-based evoke damage dealer, and also I'm going to talk about the best units to bring in a team with her. Alright, let's go. So first we're going to talk about her TMR and SEMR. TMR is called the Beautiful Head. By the way, all the names, skill names, and TMR, SEMR, and vision card names are translated from Japanese version. So I hope you don't mind. Passive is increase attack and mag by 40% and increase Evo mag 30%. And then SEMR is a sword, Faris' sword, FF5. Stats, attack 160 and mag 185. And passive is increase Evo mag again by 50%. So NV Faris brings a 30% Evo mag materia that also gives 40% mag and attack. It's a budget version of Originator of the final summoning materia, which is great. Originator is from Unalesca's SEMR. And then get her SEMR before you turn duplicate copies of her into fragments. It's a really unique TMR. Also really good for evoke magic damage dealers. And then her SEMR is another sword for evoke damage healers, but hers has Evo mag 50%. So take note of that, Evo mag 50%. Terra's sword plus, however, on the other hand, has evoke damage 50%. So she wants to equip her own SEMR or maybe two of her SEMR if you can afford to get another one. We'll get to that later, but her passives, she's kind of lacking in Evo mag instead of evoke damage. Alright. Here is her vision card. It's called the Shirdora. Greetings, NV Faris. Level 1 stats is base attack 35, base mag 50, and level 10 stats, base attack 65, and base mag 90. The passives are at level 4, greetings, increase attack and mag 30% when equipped with a sword, and at level 7, increase attack and mag 30% when equipped with a sword. Level 10, Sea Dragon Sildra is only restricted to, female units only. Increase attack and mag 20%, increase evoke damage 30%. So this, take note, this increases evoke damage, not evo mag, alright? So a great vision card for evoke damage healers again. The level 10 ability is restricted to female units only, but that's not really an issue because most evoke damage healers are female. The only evoke damage dealer that is not female is Infernal Fire Rain for now. So there could be more in the future. Alright, so that's not really an issue. So most of the evoke damage healers are female. They can activate or proc the evoke damage 30 and attack and mag 20%. So do note it has less base mag and mag bonuses than searching for the Esper vision card. So 90 base mag compared to 100. And then the latter's level 10 skill, however, I'm talking about searching for the Esper, is locked behind FF6 units only, so namely NV Terra. So do take note of that. NV Faris can utilize this well. Overall, great card. Alright, now moving on. This video is sponsored by Amazon Coins. Get 10,000 Amazon Coins for $80 instead of $100. That's a savings of 20%. You can use the Amazon Coins to buy Lapis for FFBE. I placed a link in the description below. Check it out after you watch the video. If you enjoy content like this, consider subscribing. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Azure. I upload FFBE and gaming content every day on this channel. If that's something you're interested in, then consider subscribing. You can also leave a like rating on the video as well and check me out at various social media. Links in the description. So we're going to talk about her base form. Her base form can equip daggers, swords, katanas, rods, guns, and the armor options are hats, helms, clothes, light armor, and robes, and of course accessories. So in base form, NV Faris is a wind-based magic damage dealer, similar to Untamed Wolf Edel's Brave Shift form. So her skills belong to the Chaos Wave Awakened family and Graviton Cannon chaining families. So her CWA chain ability is called the Sildra Soul. Evoke damage 80 and then 100% to 0 ratio. That means 100% mag to all enemies. And then bombardment level 5 inflict death 80% or deal magic damage 72 to all enemies. Inflict poison, blind, confuse 80% to all enemies. Graviton Cannon chaining family. So she has innate triple cast that doesn't need to be unlocked, so she can triple cast all of these skills. Alright, she can hit hard with her LB similar to NV Terra, except it's wind based. So she has 100% passive LB damage, but no LB damage buff skill in base form. The LB damage buff can be accessed in her Brave Shift form. It's a 250 LB damage buff that also fills her LB gauge as well as impels enemies to wind by 120. So her LB is called Thunderstorm. At max level, it's one hit and it costs 100 LB. So does wind evoke damage 72. Terra does 80, so this is a bit lower than that. Same ratio, 100% to one enemy, and then activate area effect, 25% increase physical wind damage. Right, so upon LB, she casts an area effect, 25% increased physical wind damage. And then We Are Pirates, this is her Brave Shift ability. We'll get to that later when we talk about her Brave Shift form. So 2 uses per battle, unique selection, and multicast. So this is the LB damage to 50 for 3 turns to caster and be dispelled. Alright, also increase fully fills her LB gauge, and then decrease wind resistance 120 for 5 turns to all enemies. She can also imperil wind and water by 130% using separate skills. The cannons hit hard, but they don't really belong to any chaining family and can only be single cast. So water cannon, 6 uses per battle, single cast when dual wielding, and also unique selection and multicast. Water magic damage 288 to all enemies. Decrease water resistance 130 for 3 turns to all enemies. And then wind cannon, 6 uses per battle, single cast when dual wielding, unique selection and multicast. Wind magic damage 288 to all enemies. Decrease wind resistance 130 for 3 turns to all enemies. Next, so other skills, so utility skills. For lore reasons, she has steal item skill, slimy, and then she can also fill her own LB gauge for 15% for 15 per cast, and it can be triple casted. So triple casted, you get 45. And then lastly, she shares a physical attack with her Brave Shift form. It kind of works like Mastermind Son's Vicious Strikes. So it could be great for breaking enemies' break gauge. So slimy, steal item 50% from one enemy. Prepare for naval battle, increase Evo gauge by 1, and then increase LB gauge 15 to caster. And then quick Kogeki is physical damage combo, 6 to 8 times, 20 times each. 140 is the average to one random enemy. So a random really works similar to Son's Vicious Strikes. Good for chipping away the break gauge of an enemy. Alright, so we're going to talk about her passives. So she already has 150 magic dual wield, so you only need 50 more. Pretty easy to cap. And 200% mag, so 200 more to cap. And then she has innate dual wield and the 200% increase in chain cap modifier. She does 150% more damage to aquatics. Although she's a bit low on Evo mag, as I said earlier, she's only at 60 Evo mag, 60%. But she already has 180 evoke damage, so you don't need much evoke damage to cap her. And then 100% LB damage passive. Alright, so going down the list, she also has attack, defense, spirit, HP, MP 70%. She also has Esper's bonus stats 100%, does more damage, 150 more damage to physical, to aquatics, both physical and magic damage. And then she has, let's see, she can innately dual wield one-handed weapons. She also autocasts Kingdom of Tycoon First Princess every turn, so that increases evocation gauge by 1, so every turn. And then her trust passive is upgrades her default attack to Koi Shirdora. It does evoke damage 40 to one enemy and also increases evocation gauge by 1. So she has a lot of evocation gauge fill skills on her kit. And she has 3 unique area effects when evoking Golem, Leviathan, and Ramu. So Golem, it does 25% physical earth damage. Leviathan does 25% physical water damage, and Ramu does 25% physical lightning damage. So those are all unique skills for NV Faris. She could be useful in earth teams, water teams, and lightning teams, as well as wind teams. Since her LB applies an area effect 25% wind physical damage. And then she can evoke any Esper equipped in the party. Alright, so what are the weaknesses in her base form? NB Faris learns a non-elemental physical attacks that scales off of her mag stat named Bombardment. So we talked about that earlier. Doesn't have any element, but since it is non-elemental, we need to equip an elemental weapon with high mag stat. And those are quite rare. External Imbue and Imperil is required to fully utilize Bombardment. And also, if you remember, Bombardment has Graviton Cannon chains. The Graviton Cannon family only has a few members in it, making it really hard to find a chaining partner with. So if you really want to use the skill, you can bring Warrior of Light Bartz. He can imbue wind and chain Graviton Cannon. And also, Sakura of the Delta Star does so as well, but with the lightning element. Also, the LB cost of Thunderstorm LB is quite high at 100 LB crysts. Although we can fill it using We Are Pirates in her Braveshift form, it can't be relied on for longer fights since We Are Pirates only has 2 uses per battle. So once you run out of uses for We Are Pirates, you cannot instantly fill your LB gauge anymore. You need to at least have external LB fill support, or use her 15 per cast LB fill ability. Faris also needs to Brave Shift in order to buff her LB damage and fill her LB gauge. Her cooldown from Brave Shift to base form lasts 3 turns. So she needs to wait turns after Brave Shifting before buffing her LB damage, since she won't be able to shift back to base form until turn 4. So pretty it's gonna be a challenge to buff her LB damage and then fire off her LB. So but it's possible, it's doable. I'll show you a rotation later. And then NV Terra, on the other hand, can Brave Shift. So if you have NV Terra, she can immediately Brave Shift on turn 1, and then buff on turn 1 in her Brave Shift form, and then fire off her LB on turn 2. So make sure to keep the timing in mind when using NV Faris. Alright, so here is a sample build for NV Faris. This is best in slot for her. But you can still make use of her using if you don't have these SEMRs. So NV Faris already has high evoke damage, so we're going to focus on increasing her evo mag. So it was a 60, right? So equipping 2 of her SEMRs will contribute to increasing evo mag. And then also her TMR will help with that. You can also use her vision card for increasing mag and evoke damage. It has a lower flat mag stat compared to Ibarra's vision card. So in my sample build, I used Ibarra's vision card since it gives a lot of flat mag, 110. So 2 of Faris' sword, Iridia's headband, Yuna's clothes, Ravenheart to cap magic dual wield, and then Cursed Doll for the high flat mag, her own TMR, and then Guardian of Light Sora for the LB damage passive 75, and then the usual originator of the final summoning, Judy to the world, and demon who learned humanity, and she will be equipped with anima for the LB damage boost, slight boost of 5%. So this will be her stats: mag 6038 at 300% buff, and then LB damage 430, 200%, 250% buff. Okay, so we're gonna move on to her Brave Shift form. So similar, same equipment pool. However, her element resistances change. So NV Faris loses her 50% lightning, water, and wind resistance. Sorry, I forgot to put that on the slide. So her base form has 50% lightning, water, and wind resistance. In her Brave Shift form, she loses all those and gains 100% fire resistance. She can also equip the same equipment. Alright, I mentioned that before. She has more base attack in her Brave Shift form. So her base form has a lot of base mag, but in Brave Shift form, she has more attack. Alright, so in her Brave Shift form, NV Faris turns into a physical damage dealer. So if you can see her sprite there, auto-playing, she's summoning her Esper and then focusing on her sword. She gains fire attack skills that belong to the AMOE chaining family. The skill impels one enemy to fire by 130% as well. She can also amplify her own fire damage, physical, and magic by a whopping 50%. So really high fire amp skill. Alright, so Sword of Courage level 5, fire physical damage 72 to one enemy, decreased fire resistance 130 for 3 turns to one enemy, absolute mirror of equity. By the way, she still has triple cast on this form, so she can triple cast that attack. And then Fire Crystal's Blessing, Faris, 5 turn cooldown, available on turn 1, increase fire physical damage 50 for 5 turns to caster, increase fire magic damage 50 for 5 turns to caster. Also, NV Faris' Brave Shift form houses all of her LB-oriented skills. Like I mentioned before, she can buff her own LB damage by 250 and fill her own LB gauge by 100. The buffing skill also imperils all enemies to win by 130. Scratch that, it's just 120. She also has a lesser LB damage buff skill that boosts her attack and mag by 300. So we are pirates. We already talked about that. Also, new skill is Sea Dragon's Roar, increase attack and mag 300 for 5 turns to caster. So you want to cast this before you do any damage. And then increase LB damage 150 for 6 turns to caster, can't be dispelled. This will be useful if you run out of uses for We Are Pirates. She can also debuff all stats to one enemy using a skill or her LB. Her LB does fire physical damage and debuffs one enemy stats by 85%. It is really costly though, sitting at 100 LB crest. So similar to her base form's LB, this also costs 100 LB crest. So full breakdown is on-demand skill, decrease attack, defense, mag, spirit 80 for 5 turns to one enemy, physical damage 20 to one enemy. So that's the physical damage part is not really the important thing here. So she can break all stats 80 for 5 turns to one enemy. So she can actually serve as a breaker in her Brave Shift form. So that's going to be useful in Dark Visions, where you need as much roll compression as possible. So bringing NV Faris to Dark Visions, putting her on your team could open up a slot instead of bringing a dedicated breaker. So she will be an evoke damage, a magic damage LB finisher, and also your breaker. So next is her LB LB skill is called the Flame Hearted Sword, max 1 hit, also a finisher skill, and costs 100 LB, fire physical damage 120 to one enemy, decrease fire resistance 130 for 3 turns to one enemy, and decrease all stats 85 for 3 turns to one enemy. So this one is a bigger break, but at the cost of 100 LB. So it's really not... it can be useful if you want to use her as a fire physical damage LB finisher. But it's really hard to fill her LB gauge, so you cannot rely on the break for long periods of time, the 85% break. The better break is the 80%. That's the on-demand break is better, since it doesn't require 100 LB crysts. Alright, so passives. She retains most of her passives from base form. The mag passives are switched with attack passives. So if you can see, equipment attack is 150, so you only need 50% more to cap it. And she also has 200% attack passives, so you only need a bit more to cap it. And then her normal attack transforms into a break attack that does increase damage to the break gauge of an enemy when using swords. So it's her trust passive, upgrade default attack to physical damage 1 with increased break damage 500 for a sword to one enemy. So if you're dual wielding, you hit twice with that. So good for breaking the break gauge of an enemy that is weak to sword. So just going down the list, it's pretty similar except for the attack passives. Alright, what are the weaknesses for her Brave Shift form? There aren't any glaring weaknesses with her Brave Shift form, because she's going to be utilized mostly for her Brave base form evoke damage. But she can still function as an LB damage finisher and BS form, fire LB damage finisher. And then however, due to the limited number of uses for her LB fill skill, we are pirates, she will have trouble filling her LB gauge when the uses have been exhausted. So in short, her LB costs a lot of crysts both in shift and in base form, so an external LB fill unit is needed to help her manage that weakness. Alright, so we're going to look at the sample builds I built for her. So this sample build is for when we use NV Faris for fire LB finishing in her Brave Shift form. So we focus on attack and LB damage. She also has a lot of slots left for killers, since her true dual wield is easy to cap. So here it is, Supreme Sword of Light for attack and LB damage, Dark Masamune for the high flat attack, Red Hellbore, Lion Armor also has LB damage passive, Riku's Glove also, and Warlord's Leg Guards will cap your true dual wield and also give you a lot of flat attack. Her own TMR and Guardian of Light Sora for LB damage and attack passives. Placing the Demon Tower for her vision card because you're equipped with a sword. And then those are her stats: 5,517, 300% attack buff, and capped LB damage. Here's a sample rotation when you're using her as an LB finisher, wind evoke damage LB finisher. So hopefully when NV Faris comes or arrives, or banner arrives, we'll get the option to start the battle in Brave Shift form. So that's a quality of life adjustment from FFBE JP. They can start the turn in Brave Shift form instead of base form. So this is gonna be this is gonna allow us to start in Brave Shift form. I'm gonna go through the rotation. This sample rotation is for when we use NV Faris for LB damage in base form. So turn 1, start in Brave Shift, full breakdown to break all the stats. Sea Dragon Roar to buff your attack in mag. And then we are pirates to buff LB damage, fill your LB gauge, and Imperial Wind. So then we go back to base form. And then we use our LB. That's going to be the modifier 2177. Pretty good. And then turn 3, we're still in base form. Wind cannon to imperil 130% wind. So 288. That's the only thing we can do because it can't be part of the multicast. And then turn 4, we brave shift again. Do the full breakdown. Fire Crystal's Blessing to increase our, I think, fire damage, yes. And then Sword of Courage. And then turn 5, Sword of Courage. We're just gonna do some physical damage here. And then turn 6 is full breakdown again. Buff attack and mag, and buff LB damage, and fill your LB gauge. And then turn 7, do your LB again for 2177. Alright, so by turn 8, we've run out of uses for We Are Pirates. So you can either use external LB fill units or fill her LB on her own using the 15 LB per cast ability that she has. So here is also a sample rotation for when we use her as an LB finisher, physical damage healer, and debuffer. So we're just gonna stay in Brave Shift form indefinitely. Brave, turn 1 is Sea Dragon Roar, We Are Pirates, and then Fire Crystal's Blessing to increase her fire damage. Then LB on turn 2. I didn't take into account her fire damage boost. Her mod should be bigger than that, than 540. And then turn 3, Sword of Courage. Turn 4, Sword of Courage again, and We Are Pirates to increase LB damage. And then turn 5, LB again. And then turn 6, Sea Dragon Roar, increase her fire damage again, and then Sword of Courage. And then turn 7, Sword of Courage times 3 again. Sorry about that. I forgot the times 3. And then turn 8, Sword of Courage times 2, and then full breakdown. So looking at this, she's gonna do less damage in physical form than her evoke magic damage dealer. But if you really want to use her, you can still do. So pretty respectable modifiers there. Alright, so best companions for NV Faris. She's very LB gauge hungry, so she needs external LB fill support and mag buffs from units like Lumina, Madame Edel NV, and Eurasia NV. So if you would rather prioritize the frequency of LBs rather than max damage, you would need to some external LB fill. So if you'd rather not focus on the burst damage, but rather focus on average damage, for example, you're not bringing her to Dark Visions, where burst damage is premium, you're just bringing her to a trial. So just filling her LB gauge is more important than doing so much burst damage. So, sorry, Lumina can buff mag by 300% and also fill LB by 30 per cast, and then buffs 150 LB damage. And then Madame Edel NV also can buff mag by 300 and also fills LB to the max. So Madame Edel is a really good support for NV Faris. And then lastly is Eurasia NVA, 280 mag buff, 40 LB fill, and 100% LB damage. Okay, comparison with NV Terras, because you must be thinking, if I have NV Terra already, should I pull for NV Faris? So this should help you answer that question. So let's compare NV Terra with NV Faris, since both are evoke damage magic damage healers. So NV Faris and both NV Faris and Terra has a 200% chain cap modifier. NV Faris has 100% passive LB, while Terra has 75. NV Faris has 250 active LB damage buff, similar to Terra, and NV Faris has 60 Evo Mag compared to 240 from NV Terra. And then evoke damage, 180 for Faris and 60 for Terra. So that's why Terra needs her own sword for evoke damage, and Faris needs her own sword for Evo Mag. And then element-wise, Faris is wind, Terra is fire. LB cost is 100 while Terra is 36. So pretty huge disparity there with the LB cost. Alright, so those are the important stats for both evoke damage healers. So NV Terra's LB mods are higher than NV Faris's, but NV Faris has the advantage of increasing wind physical damage for the party by 25 using her area effect. So NV Faris, wind attribute summon attack 72, 7,200 power against a single enemy. But she can boost the wind physical damage of the party. Terra, however, has fire summon attack with 80 power against a single enemy. So clearly, Terra can hit harder, but NV Faris can support her team better with her 25 wind attribute physical damage increase. So my final thoughts on Terra, NV Faris, not Terra. NV Faris has a lot of unique abilities to bring to the table. She has a lot of area effects that she can apply to the battle to help the party to do more damage. She is also not a slouch in the damage department, boasting big modifiers on her Wind LV Evoke LB. Her damage healing is gated by the extremely high cost of her LB, but that can be remedied by bringing external LB support. I also love that she can full debuff in her Brave Shift form. She will be valuable in Dark Visions, where roll compression is at a premium. She also pairs well with future Neovision Awakened Warrior Light Bards who can amplify wind damage by 45. So I'll do a separate video on Wall Bards because this one is gonna run a bit long if I include him. So overall, NV Faris will shake up the meta in a good way. She is definitely a must pull for me. So I will pull for her. I will build a win team based on her, with her as at the center. So win-based team for Dark Visions will be useful. As you can see, if you've been paying attention to Dark Visions Clear, the previous Dark Visions had fire teams with them because of NV Terra. So NV Terra, Infernal Fire Rain to boost 25% fire physical damage. So you needed 2 units to boost the fire damage and do fire evoke damage. But with NV Faris, you can do that with 1 unit. She can even break on top of it. So pretty useful unit. Excited to pair her with Warrior of Light Bards who can amplify wind damage by 45. So physical wind damage and magic wind damage. So he's gonna be a really good support with a wind damage party. Alright guys, let me know if I missed anything. I could have missed anything. This is a really long unit preview review. Also, I hope this helped you decide if you want to pull for NV Faris. And also maybe for Warrior of Light Bards. Look out for the video of that, by the way. I'm gonna be making that soon. Alright guys, my name is Azure. If you don't know me, I make FFBE and gaming content every day, post them on the channel. If you're interested in that, make sure to subscribe and click on the notification bell. You can also click a like and share the video, and also maybe join my membership. You get to have badges next to your username, and also use special emotes when I'm live streaming. Alright guys, thanks again for the support, and I'll see you again in the next video. Bye-bye.